Alright, doing video in pieces again, I think. Yeah, I am. Anyway, there was wild turkeys in my backyard. I'll have to see if I got enough decent video of that. So anyway, sort of a holiday response, but it's just a response to the convenientist, the glibist, the nihilist. I mean, they're not really nihilists, so you know, they're conveniently nihilistic. You know, they annihilate truths they don't like, obligations they don't want, and but that's the extent of their nihilism. It's just convenient nihilism. Therefore, all kinds of reasoned and logical recognitions of fundamental notions of equality, notions of rights, and all that kind of stuff when it's, when they want them. But they don't want they don't want to work both ways. It's that obvious. It's that simple. It is a convenient thing. I'm going to make just a I mean, I have to just make a bullet-pointed argument and just say, look, these are the simple premises. You either accept this or you don't accept this. In terms of this being an accurate description of our reality. And so, one of the bullet points is going to be this idea that your intelligence is basically just riding on a psychology. It's riding on an animal. Your basic nature is an animal. Your desires, the visceral feelings, the sensations, the motivating mechanism is quite different from the engine that models the world, that gains facts and perceptions of reality based on those facts. I've been doing a lot of physics thinking lately, and in doing that, you realize that you had a perception of the world that was not accurate, and that if you gain some new perception, you say that you think is more accurate, a better description, a better model. You see things, and it's just a very different world. Not very different, but different in terms of perception. And clearly that's what's happening in our mind space, our brain. We're capable of gaining knowledge of the world and how it works, what relationships to the other people, the other organisms, and we're able to understand the dynamics of those relationships, the meaning of those relationships, and it's in this context of this intelligence being better than the visceral animal. The visceral animal just wants and takes, and the visceral animal is what's the word? The objectifying. It's turning women into objects. That sense of the word objectifying. Everything is an object to be used to your utility, and you're not seeing it any deeper than that. But yeah, our intelligence allows us to see things and to know right and wrong and all this. To see there's something wrong with a picture. We can see the flaw in it. It's like those, an intelligence test. They often have images with something wrong in them, something broken, something out of place. And, it's a measure of intelligence to be able to recognize when something's wrong and it's out of place and it's inconsistent and it's a hypocrisy or a duplicity. And anyway, the point I wanted to get to is just that one of these bullet points will be this idea that our intelligence, our modeling brain that can understand, is just a passenger on an animal. I mean, you can call them both you. You can see it that way. But I would argue or suggest that it's more constructive not to see it that way. Just to see that your brain is just riding on a self-interested monkey. And the best of your knowledge is, different than the generic, samey kind of nature of the basic animal you're riding on, the need machine. So anyway. Weird day. So I'll be back. Alright, bullet point 2, I think maybe will be the idea that there's some things we can only gain knowledge of by experiencing them. Sentience, for example. You couldn't explain it to something that never felt it. You can't explain a feeling to something that can't feel. You can only gain knowledge of the qualitative nature of sensations through experiencing them. It'd be very hard to put into words, to explain it. Somewhat like our other senses even, something that never had vision, you could explain kind of, well, yeah, I can see the stuff you have to bang into, I can see it out in the future, or I can see it out there before it gets to me, or before I get to it. And you could kind of maybe get some feel for it, but a feeling would be really hard to describe to something that never had one. So it's only through a personal experience that you can gain knowledge of it. It's just not as abstractable or as modelable or as comparable to something else. Like you can always compare a tree to some other kind of plant, but you can compare the hardness of the wood to a rock or some other thing. It's more easily metaphored into things that somebody might have some knowledge of. It has a simplicity too that just makes it easier to describe. You could just describe the nature of its chemistry, its physicalness, where, obviously the stuff going on inside of our brains, inside of our consciousnesses, it's a little bit too complicated to explain dynamically. It's just a process. You have to explain it as an effect. Explaining the cause is just too complicated. Where a tree, you could explain the way the carbon bonds with other molecules and creates a very hard structure and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you can't do that with what we feel. So some of the conversation you're going to have about some stuff has to just be this assumption of common knowledge gained through personal experience. And there's no other way to gain it. There's no way to appreciate it except through that mostly. I suppose there's some feelings or emotional reactions that you could put in a category and say, yes, you don't experience that, so you have to watch somebody else do it because you are not a hysterical person, or you're not this, or you're not that. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sensations themselves. And I suppose there's some automatic, it would be a concession that it's not exactly common between people. People feel they have a different level, state, disposition of sensibility. The bads might be worse, and the goods might be less or better. The quality might have a different curve. And so there'll be some variation, but we could say generically many experiences are common. Like we sort of, yeah, we get it. We all kind of know that feeling, kind of thing. So anyway, some things you have to experience your experience of them will be your evidence of them. You won't be able to show evidence in some other way except to say, I've experienced it. I've tasted it. I know it. I can't give you any other evidence of its reality than to testify to the fact that that's what my brain is doing and that's what it's producing. Yeah, something like that. Alright. The third thing, I guess I'll say it's the third, what the hell? Declarative statement. So I think we can say there should be common agreement anyway, that there are states of sensation, states of being that are profoundly horrible. If they're maintained for any period of time, it's this torturous, awful, horrible, not good at all. We can, I really don't want to get into this, describe the horror thing, but, getting just burned badly, for first-degree burns and all that kind of stuff, and, just very horrible, protracted pain. And then we can have other sensations that go with that, like sciatica or some other kind of back thing or something, where it creates this horrible, nauseating, persistent pain, migraine headaches, lots of things, just a sickly, harsh sickliness. And that these are torturous states. They're just very, very, very obnoxious states of being, for which most people will pay more than $1 to avoid. And it's just a fact. These are bad events that happen to sensate organisms. They endure protracted, harsh discomfort, and that it's bad, fundamentally. Part of that argument is made out of the personal observation. It's the most real thing I could describe about what I perceive as reality, is the fact that torture is something I don't want to go anywhere near. It's just, that is the #1 fact. No torture, please. Some sadness, some despair, some pain, some misery, but no torture, please. Track number 3. Okay, try again. Maybe ambition this time. And ambition is just kind of a symptom of competition. Most of our ambitions are part of this ego mechanism, part of this desire machine mechanism, the desire. And it's all part of the incentive to compete with all the other crap in the world to get your genetic code into the future. And it is fundamentally not a very good, not a very meritorious agenda setter. So the conversation is sort of about what should be setting agendas. This crude competitive ambition mechanism are some logical deduction about a cost-to-benefit analysis, a rational, logical cost-to-benefit analysis. I'm going to argue that the big tree blew down. Yeah, it really is horrendously windy here at times. Big gusts, so I probably shouldn't linger anymore in the woods. It really is quite dangerous today. Anyway, I'll be back. Alright, back inside. Vlogger dome. I've fixed it a little bit so it looks better on a big screen. Yeah, it's big. It really is big. Anyway, vloggerdome.com. Anyway, new episode's out. It's very good. It's a pretty good idea. Too bad nobody likes it. Yeah, I'm liking it, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Anyway, so back to this crap. So this should probably be one of the Vlogger Dome subjects, I suppose. Just this basic reality thing. Yeah, so I wrote, just a simple little diagram wrote down real quick. And it's not really legible, so I won't bother videoing. I'll just explain, the simple rundown. Alright, so material universe, elements, complex chemistry is made possible, DNA molecule plops out of all of this stuff. Seems like very rare chemistry, no evidence of it doing things twice. Key events in evolution only happened one time. One single cell did a certain thing and it only happened once, kind of stuff. But anyway, so replicating DNA molecule, it basically creates a mechanism
that initiates tool creation in organisms. Organisms acquire tools. That's the function of evolution. Tools in a competition defined by survival, where you send a million things out there to do something, and if the one that comes back replicates, kind of an idea. And literally the number million to one isn't completely outside the bounds of what goes on in nature. Some of the numbers are that obscene in terms of the amount of spawn successfully reaching maturation. 1 in a million. Realistic, real numbers as possibilities. Anyway, so the tools are created, and so there becomes this hardware thing where it's good to have hardware, but also the tool can be in behavior. So there's two elements to your toolkit. Enabledness is your physical body and what it's made to do, what it can do, acid for blood and such, and the idea of behavior is another weapon in the contest. So you have two elements. You have the sword and you have the mind, or the experience of the thing wielding the sword, so to speak. Yeah, so there's two things created through this mechanism of competition. Is an agenda engine and a scheming engine, to put it simply. And the agenda engine was needed, the feeling engine, because it had to make the problems of life real. It's a way of making the fact that it would be conducive to survival for toolkit-enabled gladiators to have a mechanism that made it unavoidable for them to do the right thing for their survival. Something that made the problems of survival obvious, made them unavoidable, made them visceral. And so feelings happen. This agenda thing, the thing where you don't feel good, you don't feel right, you have a creepy feeling, or you have some other feeling that is disturbing, or you have a feeling of attraction and compelling incentive, where you won't feel right until you get that thing you need, or the thing that's the thing you want. And the other side is this thinking thing. So you have the feeling thing, and then you have this thinking thing that does the strategizing for how to wield the sword, how to play with the hardware in such a way as to reliably and harmlessly satisfy the conditions. Satisfy either getting rid of the repulsive feeling, getting away from the bad smell, or getting the white women. Satisfying the hungers, the desires. So really it's just one part of your brain makes the problem, in the sense that it identifies a problem in the world, it sees it, so to speak. Your visceral body reflexively reacts, and many of these things like hunger are reflexes. You smell the bread cooking, it incites hunger. You see the miniskirt, it incites, these are reflexes that create a condition and create a problem of feelings that need resolution, and then your scheming brain is essentially designed to fix them. So anyway, the simple argument being made here is that through being alive and sensate, I've experienced these different kinds of qualitative states, these horrible, awful, suffering states, and these pleasurable states, and I'm quite certain through experience, of the value of these negative states. That these negative states I wouldn't wish them on a dog, I wouldn't wish them on a tree, I wouldn't wish it on a rock, I wouldn't wish it on any harmless thing in the universe would I wish repulsive, nasty, painful, unpleasant sensation. It's an obnoxiously horrible thing. And I've drawn the simple conclusion that the other sentient animals are like me, process of evolution. There's no mystery how we got here. There's no real rational debate about them not being real and any of that. It's just not a reasonable argument to make. It's the evidence is clear that there's no reason to doubt the legitimacy of their substance. The fact that I'm even having to say this almost seems imbecilic, that I would have to even explain that there's really no reason to have a conversation about the possibility that I don't exist and I'm a figment of your imagination. I mean, isn't that a waste of our time? I certainly think it is. Something called a philosopher is going to waste time doing that, then yeah, I think they're insane. There's no sane or reasonable reason to doubt that my origin isn't any different than anybody else's origin, and if they're fake, I'm fake. And if we're what fake is, it really doesn't, the word fake doesn't mean anything anymore, because we're pretty fucking real. So it really just doesn't matter. The fact is I've experienced these sensations. I know they're bad. I'm confident they're bad. And I know by just logical deduction that other sensate beings, when they have those feelings, are experiencing something bad. It isn't bad just when it's in my brain. It's bad no matter what brain it's in, no matter what thing is experiencing it. If we could make a computer feel pain, it would be meaningful. Pain is the thing. Pain is the suffering, repulsion, obnoxious sensation, however you want to describe those nuances of tedium and irritation, the grating on the organ, the negative rub. I don't know. There's so many ways you could say it. Suffering. It seems to me a totally appropriate word to use, but apparently that's not even common enough language. But anyway, it just seems, not complicated. So the game is about this suffering thing. You can't win the game by causing suffering in other sentient beings. It's the same thing as if it's your own. So if I wouldn't endure the penalty I'm imposing on somebody else through some activity, then the activity is wrong, and it's deducible and obvious. And the game we're playing is really just about your brain and who's it working for. Is it just working for this sentient organ, or is it working for all the sentients collectively? They all have the same value. Their welfare is equally important. If my brain is going to be solving problems, there's no difference between solving my problem and solving some other sentient's problem. I can logically understand that. It's the same gain. And the only difference is one seems to be attached to to this one body, but there's absolutely nothing preventing my intelligence from working on somebody else's problem. Nothing to stop me. And every rational and logical reason for me to see purpose and productivity in that. Just as much productivity as achieving my own comfort is in achieving somebody else's comfort. It's just an equal sign that's logically solid. It's an equal sign that's logically solid. There's absolutely no rational way to conform an argument saying the welfare of the other humans is not as important as my welfare. I just don't think you can compose a defensible statement explaining how their suffering doesn't matter and my suffering does matter. And I know mine matters. So the argument can't be that mine doesn't matter. So you're not going to convince me that my suffering doesn't matter. And that's essentially what Hofladay is arguing. He's arguing that he thinks it's doubtful whether my suffering means anything. Because that's the only way you can make any logical sense out of it. So anyway, yeah, probably enough. I think I'll read some comments. So I have to go to the other computer, I believe. I'm looking at just big screen. Anyway, so that's what I'll do. Go to the other computer to read the comments. Because, they're just... There's no substance in the comments, but I just figure it's... there's a ton of comments on this video. Not a ton, but I mean, the usual show up, right? The usual people who need to rag. Why isn't this working? Oh, all comments. You gotta hit that button, idiot. There we go. Alright. I mean, the Quintugas of the world, these are really classy people. Yeah. Horror, the horror, the horror. The horror, the horror, the horror. Yeah, it is funny. Hotline doesn't really respond to comments much either. I mean, I certainly don't. Some, these people, they post more than one comment, which is also always annoying. Hey, Hotline, I want to see you and Anaconabod do a hangout on this topic. Yeah, I think Anaconabod is going to get bored with Hotline in about, 3 minutes. Yeah, sorry, no chance. But I mean, the fact that they're both in the same category of glib denialists who essentially are arguing for some sort of philosophy where if it feels good, do it, and don't care if the bitch is crying. I mean, there's just no reason to care because there's no evidence that anyone else's welfare but your own matters. Even your own welfare doesn't matter by his philosophy. Like I said, you're just deluded to think that it matters whether you're tortured. If somebody's put you on a gurney and shoved all kinds of nasty probes into you, it just doesn't matter. You might as well be eating cupcakes. That's how insane their philosophy is. Inmendham helps me sleep because his hatred is resonant with my own, but when he gets so mad it wakes me up, so maybe don't make him so mad next time, because damn it, I need my sleep aid. Yeah, this is somebody called God Eater. Yeah, right, he's got like a little aura, like a eclipse icon. Yeah, right, sure. Like Gaia, it hasn't been way up your colon, stroking your, whatever they call that thing in there. Yeah, your not your pancreas, but same thing. For people like you, it's the same thing. The science videos are literally unbearable. Yeah, well, they really are. I can't make it through 3 minutes of each video without wanting to physically injure myself in some way. Well, it is kind of funny. Holy shit, it's worse than I thought. Oh, good, that's my video. Cool. Yeah, well, that is exactly nothing as a counter argument. So again, go ahead, try to demonstrate. Well, how am I wrong in the analysis of Feynman's incorrect analysis? How am I wrong in describing the kinetic energy transfers that don't transfer energy because the photons aren't absorbed? How is that wrong? Yeah, you're not making any arguments. The argument from "you say so." Oh, yeah. My name, that's just brilliant. He's not going to be able to bridge the gap between his intuitional sense of the way things should be. I mean, what is the what? There's something intuitive about evolution? No, there's not. It's a biological process. There's nothing inside of me that says I'm a DNA molecule struggling to survive into the future. So what are you talking about? Where's my intuition got a problem with this? Yeah, I have a sense that it's really dumb to do dumb things. Yeah, and there seems to be stupidity all over the human race's activities, right? I mean, we love our children. Let's steal their money. I mean, it's all over the place, right? And he logically blocks that he is manipulating. Well, again, says you. I say you're manipulating. I'm saying the fact that you can't even get an icon, you can't make a video straight up as a human being, seems to me you're the guy playing manipulating games, right? You're afraid. There's going to be a barrier to forming effective communication insofar as he thinks his intuition should fundamentally be everybody's intuition. Well, again, that's not true at all. I'm saying that I think everybody's fundamental nature is to recognize the fact that they have sensations and they come in two qualitative varieties, bad and good, and that we can tell the difference between those things, and we know that we can logically deduce that my good feelings aren't better than somebody else's good feelings, and my bad feelings aren't more important than somebody else's bad feelings. It's not that complicated. That's not intuition. It's called fucking logic. And for you to insult it by calling it intuition is just idiotic. I mean, the fact that we can philosophically disagree, but let's understand that we have to disagree about something that's being acknowledged. If you're going to say that it's okay to have nuclear power plants because you don't consider victims meaningful. Well then sure, yeah, we're not going to be able to have a conversation about nuclear power plants, are we? If you're going to say that I'm not going to pay any attention to rational cost-benefit analysis, well then yes, there's no conversation that can be had. So obviously I can't have a conversation with somebody who doesn't concede to the most important value thing in the universe. He thinks gold is worth more, that has more legitimate value than a injured animal just got hit by a car suffering on the side of the road. He thinks that a lump of gold is more really valued because it's valued by humans than the organism suffering on the side of the road. I mean, how can I possibly have a conversation about anything meaningful in the universe if somebody can't understand what meaningful is? In the generation of a viewpoint and to think logically, we must form assumptions. I don't know. We must. I mean, short of assuming fairy tales aren't true, I don't think we have to do that. I think there's a ton of evidence demonstrating exactly what we are. We really don't have to assume very much, and we personally experience the consciousness, so there's no assumptions based in on that. So the only thing you're saying that we must assume is that we're not part of some laboratory experiment in the superverse, where we're just like a high school experiment. Or, we could just make up fables. We could talk about gingerbread universes, and then we could talk about, universes made out of tofu. We could just make up shit and call those, forming assumptions is that we discount stuff that was just completely made up. So yeah, I guess that would be the one assumption we have to form is if you completely just made up a theory, okay, out of complete and absolute bullshit, we'll assume it's crap. And these assumptions can give others a sense of who we are as individuals. Well, again, what assumption? Where's the assumption in the fact that I arrive on Earth and I realize that, certain things feel certain ways, and I can certainly, it occurs to me very quickly that I wouldn't want knives stuck in certain places. I wouldn't want even something even dull, put certain places, and it just becomes all quite obvious. So I'm just saying, what assumption is built into that? I personally experience it's not assumptions, it's fucking goddamn evidence. He has said some venomous things in the past, so read more. I don't really know. It's not surprising that people bite back. Well, again, they're not biting back. They're spitting. And again, who spits first? So again, just keep making excuses for other people's gameplay with rhetoric. The guy's a compulsive, talks about other people being afoul of something, or their transgressions against, and their blah blah blah, and so he can say it because he says it in his little pussy language. It's okay, but if you just say it a little clearer and harder, it's not okay. And again, understand the context of this conversation. It's essentially a conversation with some ignorant fuck 200 years ago about slavery. I'm having a conversation with some moron who's going to defend slavery. You don't think people should have been a little emotional about some things once in a while? Yeah, I think they should be a little emotional. He has a tendency to turn philosophical debate into psychological brawl. Well, again, there's psychology to the fact that we're invested in our lives, and invested certainly as sentient beings. We can't avoid having some emotional stakes. So I'm just saying, if you can't give a shit, okay, about fighting people who will glibly say it's okay to run animals over, it's okay to torture them in farms, it's okay to create all kinds of victims as long as you benefit, as long as it's their problem, not your problem, it's okay. I mean, you just have to call them something, okay, and then you don't have to consider them. That's Kantian philosophy, right? Just be a bigot and you win. So just put everybody on the list of they're too stupid, right? Women, anything you want, put them on the list of they're too stupid, and now you can do whatever the fuck you want to them. And that's called ethics. I call that bigotry, and I call it ignorant. Which is why I have a tendency not to watch videos related to his debates. Well, that's your loss, douchebag. Yeah, what can I say? That should probably be your name, douchebag. Anyway, do in the morning. Be careful. Your sober and indefatigable discussion of inmendham's pseudo-philosophical pronouncements infuriate him greatly. So again, she's talking psychology, and this woman's got to be the most batshit insane, psychological basket case on YouTube, and may bring about another stroke on him. I had the stroke before I ever got on YouTube, but whatever. Smiley face. Anyway, inmendham makes himself a hero, saying he has put a note warning that there is dog poo on stairs, but everybody remembers he is against Band-Aid. Again, the question is whether you're going to spend real resources, right? I said there's minimal efforts that just don't require anything from you, and they're logical and they're sensible, so you do them. And now you're making some nitpicking statement. I talked about putting a sign because there was bees that sting. Okay, I used the dog poo example as the very last example. Well, the very last one I didn't even elaborate on was a field of banana peels. I'm just saying that the logical incentive to do the minimum to prevent harm, I don't think needs much elaboration. It is something we all should be able to figure out. I mean, I really shouldn't have to explain why it's sensible and logical to prevent harm happening to people in some indiscriminate, there's no probability that the evil will be punished in this circumstance. Okay, there's every probability that somebody just as decent as yourself will be the one punished, harmed, hurt. She gets 4 thumbs up again for this nihilist crap. So no, he is not really helpful to people. Well, again, the subject isn't about my character. So again, you still don't get the idea that that's what philosophy is, you skanky cunt. You haven't come close to making a rational argument in like 2 years. I mean, you're so butthurt that you just can't get past it, and every fucking video is just a petty slander. Jeez, pathetic. According to Anton, so I don't know why it's funny that he would listen to this trite. From my estimation, many people find him a lame, bogus interlocutor, not merely because he largely disagrees with anything anyone else says. Well, gee, that's the standard, huh? If you don't agree with idiots, you're an idiot. No, I think that's how you're not an idiot. It's when you don't agree with people saying idiotic things. So I guess I wasn't lame and bogus though when we interlocutored. Yeah, right. Nor even because he routinely misunderstands the nature of the argument's disagreements. Well, I could replay your videos, the conversations we've had, and I don't think there's any evidence of a misunderstanding there. But, I mean, we disagree fundamentally, okay? You believe in some sort of fairy princess, whatever, Tinkerbell theory of human existence that I think is just absolute preposterous nonsense. Human beings are fucking cockroaches. It's a goddamn bug planet. And there's no dignity in being a fucking bug. But mainly because he fails to realize that he misunderstands. Well, isn't that just... holy shit. You have to be a professor to say something that brilliant. I mean, realistically, every disagreement on fucking planet Earth happens because somebody, either both people are misunderstanding or somebody's misunderstanding. I mean, obviously, everything is based on somebody misunderstanding, but can't I just point that gun right back at you, buddy? I mean, it's just too stupid an argument to make because you can point that gun at every single person in an argument. Just say, they don't understand. They don't understand that they don't understand. Well, yeah, I don't think you understand that you don't understand, Corey. Yeah, you don't get evolution. It's a replicating molecule, dude. Okay. So Quinta again. Wait, just a minute. What do you mean by the word question? Ha 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 ha. His face. So the Stephen Brown comments are missing, so he must have deleted them. The point is that LRTD's bad pen is only bad because he deems it so. So again, something that causes harm isn't bad. A rapist isn't bad. He's only bad if we say so. There's nothing intrinsically bad in the common rapist equation where woman is beat up, maybe even defecated on, you know, physically maybe and emotionally ruined for life, so a guy can shoot his jizzy stuff one time. And that somehow is doubted, you know, there's some sort of, we just deem it so. Yeah, it's not bad in and of itself. It's not fundamentally, factually bad. No, that's just some arbitrary definition we've applied to the circumstance. I mean, this is where this crap goes, this nihilists. These are, like, again, these are just selfish, egomaniacal, crazy fucks, and you can see it in his own, you know, his own image. He's some sort of whatever Darth Vader wannabe. So anyway, I guess this is more than enough now. But yeah, a pathetic crew of petty losers. Like I said, I'm sort of, you know, when you really look at the quality of these people, you know, the fact that Corey would put his comment in among these psychopaths, and they really are psychopaths, is, I question that. Maybe Corey's got some issues. Little wiener. Something going on there. I mean, why would he shut up? Would he show up for a petty parade? You know, this is just petty. And Holliday's video was just awful. So yeah, I do suggest anybody watch this video. It's just an insanely pathetic video, right? Especially in the context of all these complaints, right? Because there was sentences where he didn't let me get 3 words, say 3 fucking words in the video without him interrupting. Started about 5 minutes, and it's just amazing. And you talk about misunderstanding. Ooh. I mean, he ends by talking about the game thing. You know, I've used the word game to describe life, the game of life. And then he was using the word game, isn't that he was calling it the philosopher's game, like we're just contriving a bunch of you know, politically correct gaming, you know, a philosophy, like we're gaming vocabulary, or we're gaming the semantics to, you know, create this notion that the little animal just hit by the car squirming in the ditch in pain means something. He thinks that's a game we're playing, because we're applying some sort of logic and looking at that and saying, holy shit, I'm glad that's not me. But god damn, it exists, and that's bad, because if it exists, it might as well be me. Calls that a game. That logic is a game. The logic of recognizing something bad and saying, whoa, I'm glad that's not me, and then realizing as soon as you say, I'm glad that's not me, you've just acknowledged there's something bad happening in the world. There's no way of avoiding that. You just conceded the argument. As soon as you say, I'm glad it's not me, you've conceded it's a bad in the world. I mean, I hate that this is this level of, this is, like I said, if I was having this conversation with a group of 10-year-olds, they could get this, no problem. I mean, I would not have to explain to a 10-year-old. You know, even the bastard 10-year-olds, even the nastiest little, selfishest little cunt 10-year-olds could get this. They'd concede it. Even if they didn't want to concede it, they would concede. Okay, I guess my sister does have feelings. Yeah, I'm sure they could figure it out. But these fuckers? No. Because they're just too fucking selfish. And it's inconvenient having to take responsibility for the shitty nature of their existence. And it's shitty by its nature. Like I said, it's not, Corey, it's not your fault. You're a human. But being human sucks. Okay, the obscene price that humans have imposed has sucked. The price they're imposing right now sucks. And
there's just, yeah, there's nothing to feel too good about. Okay, being something that's breathing air, you know, produced by a biosphere that suffers every day, that experiences stuff you would say, I'm glad that's not me. You'd say it. I mean, I could, you know, drag the dead deer into my living room here that I saw the other day. You know, I saw it first before it was dead, of course. And you know, I could have dragged that suffering animal into my living room here and placed it on the floor, and then I could have pointed the camera and I could say, "So you're not going to tell me? You're not saying to yourself, I'm glad that's not me." You know, that has your flesh torn off and your hip broken, squirming through the woods. Yeah, fuck you. You people are just so full of shit. So anyway. Just full of shit. I'm talking to shit. I might as well be talking to fucking claymation figures made out of shit. 'Cause that's all these people are. Drivel in the morning. Disgusting. Fucking apologists for torture. Torture apologists. Can't go any lower than that. You really can't go any lower than that. Torture apologist. And that's the appropriate title for you glib, motherfucking, selfish pieces of shit. So, no, enough now. Till next time.